Today we're taking a look at the Kershaw Launch 11. I'm excited about this review because I'm such a fan of the Launch series. For those of you that aren't familiar with the Launch, it is a series of knives built by Kershaw that are automatics. They are high quality and affordable automatic knives and a good entry into this world. This knife retails for about $100. So let's go inside and take a look at the Launch 11. Hello and welcome back to Blade Insider, where we discuss all things knives. Today we're going to learn a little bit about Kershaw knives and their Launch series of knives. These knives are all unique with one common trait. They're all automatic. Specifically, we're going to review the new Launch 11 knife. But before we go to the bench, I want to remind you to subscribe to our channel for knife reviews, sharpening, maintenance, and all other things related to knives. We publish content once a week, so subscribe so you won't miss an episode. While you're down there, don't forget to like the video. Kershaw Knives was started by Pete Kershaw in 1974. He mainly focused on the production of hunting knives. He formed an alliance with Kai, a Japanese company, to help with supply and production. Today, Kai owns Kershaw NZT. One of Kai's innovations has been the speed-safe assisted opening mechanism. This system is on numerous knives such as the Leak, the Cryo, and Dividend models. Kershaw makes over 100 models of knives. These are both in-house designs and partnerships with other designers such as Ken Onion, Rick Hinderer, and Todd Rexford. Kershaw started the Launch series around 2015 and launched the first 4 of these knives. There are 12 altogether. Each of these knives are unique USA-made knives with clean lines and aluminum handles. They come in a number of colored anodized choices, and they generally hover around $75 to $125. The common trait among all of them are that they're automatics. One of the best-selling knives of this series is the Launch 4. This is a street-legal automatic with a 1.8-inch blade size. The blade is stout, stubby, and thick. For an automatic, it has a nice pop when deployed, and a lot of my customers love the size and durability of the knife. The Launch 11 is a smaller knife as well. It has more flair than the Launch 4 and has become one of Kershaw's best-selling knives in this series. Let's go to the bench and evaluate this knife. Whenever we review a knife, we look at 5 factors that are important to me when I decide to buy a knife. I rate these factors on a scale of 1 to 5, and then I come up with an overall score for the knife. Our first factor is design and aesthetics. Here we have a black anodized aluminum handle offset by the bronze pivot collar, which I think is a fantastic color combination. The handle has futuristic lines with a rectangular hole in the middle of it. The clip is in perfect proportion with the knife handle and runs along the side, leaving that rectangle open. The clip is tip up, both right hand and left hand. The knife has a back spacer in the middle of it, which I'm not a fan of, but I can see how this design aesthetic fits with the knife. The opening at the end of the knife can be used for a lanyard, but I'd be afraid that the paracord would fray and be cut by the blade. Finally, this symbol on the back of the knife signifies that this is a Kershaw in-house design. The blade is a black oxide, blackest finish, and it has a modified drop point shape. This blade shape is similar to that of the dividend. I always get worried with these blade shapes because I fear that the point will bend with heavy use. The blade is a flat grind with a fairly sized swedge that thins out towards the tip of the blade. For design and aesthetics, I'm going to give this knife a 3 out of 5. I'm not in love with the futuristic lines of this knife, but that's just a personal preference. The next factor is how this knife carries. First, let's run the tail of the tape on this knife. The overall length is 6.75 inches. The blade length is 2.75 inches. The handle length is 3.8 inches. Blade thickness is 0.12 inches. And the handle thickness is 0.75 inches. The knife weighs 2.1 ounces. Now, let's compare this knife with some others in my knife collection. First, let's compare it to the Launch 11. You can see both are in the Launch series, both are automatics. However, the Launch 4's blade length is 1.8 inches, whereas the Launch 11 is 2.75 inches. Next, let's compare it to the Delica and my Opinel number 8. Now the Opinel number 8 has a slightly longer blade as well as a longer handle. The blade length on the Delica compares favorably with the Launch 11. However, the Launch 11's cutting surface seems to be more than the Delica. Again, the Delica has a longer handle. Next, we'll look at the TRM Neutron and the Kershaw Dividend. All three blade shapes are similar on these knives. The Dividend does have the longer blade and the longer handle. The Neutron has a comparable blade length with a comparable cutting surface, but longer handle. Finally, two knives that compare very well with the Launch 11 in terms of size, and both knives are from Kershaw. First, the Leek. The Leek's blade length is favorable or comparable to the Launch 11, and the handle is slightly longer than the Launch 11, but fairly consistent. Again, the Kershaw Adamus has a similar blade length to the Launch, just slightly longer with a longer handle as well. Next, let's see how this knife fits in a pair of jeans. Now, in terms of carryability, this knife is fantastic. You can see it fits in the watch pocket of your jeans. Now, the clip is not a deep carry, and there's a fairly substantial portion of the knife that will stick out of the pocket. But again, it fits well in the watch pocket, and I always like knives that fit in the watch pocket to avoid scratching my phone. Also, for those of you that like to put it in the pocket itself, slips right in there. The clip, again, is fantastic. It allows the knife to easily slip in and out of the pair of jeans, leaving a lot of room in the pocket for your wallet, your keys, or your iPhone. The Launch 11 is a good sized knife in terms of carryability. It's big enough to fit in my large hands, but small enough to carry well in a pair of jeans. I'm going to give this knife a 4.5 out of 5 for carryability. Let's look at the materials in this knife. The handle is anodized aluminum with no liner. The blade is made from CPM 154. This is a mid-tier steel. It's good, but doesn't have fantastic edge retention. Comparing this steel to VG10, we see that CPM 154 holds its edge longer, but VG10 edges it out in ease of sharpening and corrosion resistance. For materials, this knife gets a 3.5 out of 5. The fourth category is knife utility. Does the knife do what it's intended to do? This knife is an automatic. There is no locking mechanism on the knife, and the push button is not recessed into the knife handle. The possibility is always there that it could deploy in your pocket. However, that has not happened to me as of yet. The blade has a nice snap to it when open, and the spring has good resistance to it when closing. The knife is also very sturdy and solid, and when deployed, the blade does not wiggle around. This blade was also very sharp coming from the factory. Now, I like to use extremely thin paper when testing out the sharpness of my blades. You can see here this blade is very, very sharp. For utility, I'm going to give this knife a 4 out of 5. For those of you not familiar with Kershaw knives, they are well built and affordable knives. I don't think I've ever paid more than $100 for any Kershaw knife, and I've been happy with all of them. They all come with good materials, and they're solidly built and affordable. This knife is no different. It is sharp, it snaps upon deployment, and when you compare this knife with other automatics like ProTech, this knife is $50 to $100 cheaper. Given the materials and construction, I think this knife is a value. I'm going to give the knife a 4 out of 5. If we add up all the scores, we find out that this knife scores a 3.8 out of 5. But I certainly don't think that this is a bad knife. For me, the design of the knife holds it back from scoring higher. But I still think it's a great knife in the Launch series. It's just not as iconic as the Launch 4, but it's a solid, sharp knife that will perform great for you. So what do you think? Do you think the Launch 11 should have scored higher? What are your favorite knives in the Launch series? Tell me your thoughts in the comment section below. Also, please hit the subscribe button for new content. We put out new videos about all things knives on a weekly basis. Ring the bell for notifications of these new videos, and don't forget to hit that like button twice. We'll see you next time.